The divine purpose of pain. Thus, your breaking is not your ending, it's your beginning. Listen carefully. Pain doesn't destroy you, it creates you. When life crushes you to your knees, that's not punishment, it's preparation for greatness. Every single moment of agony is carving something magnificent inside you that comfort could never produce. The fire that feels like it's killing you is actually forging you into a weapon that will conquer your future battles. Your tears aren't signs of weakness, they're watering the seeds of strength that will one day astound even you. You cry out in the darkness, feeling abandoned and forgotten, but I tell you this powerful truth: there is divine purpose in every ounce of your pain. The world has deceived you into believing that pain is your enemy, something to be avoided at all costs. But pain isn't your destroyer, it's your creator. It's not your prison, it's your launching pad to levels of greatness your comfortable self could never reach. Know that your struggles are not random, they are strategically designed. Every challenge that knocks you down, every obstacle that blocks your path, every setback that makes you question your worth, these are not accidents. They are deliberate training grounds preparing you for a destiny greater than your current vision can comprehend. The universe doesn't make mistakes. Your pain has a purpose. Your struggle has a strategy behind it. What feels like punishment is actually preparation for promotion. When you face resistance in life, do you run from it? Do you numb it? Do you try to escape it? That's exactly what mediocrity wants you to do. But champions, the ones who leave legacies that outlive them, they understand that resistance is the only way to build strength. Just as weights tear muscle fibers so they can regrow stronger, your trials are tearing apart your weak points so that unbreakable power can replace them. The pain you feel today is creating the strength you'll display tomorrow. The world's greatest leaders were first the world's greatest sufferers. Every great leader, every legendary success story, every person of extraordinary impact was first thoroughly and completely broken. Look at history. The giants who changed the world weren't spared from suffering. They were baptized in it. The world constantly feeds you lies. It tells you to run from pain, to avoid it at all costs, to numb it with distractions, pleasures, and empty pursuits. But the greatest deception you've ever swallowed is that pain means you've failed. No. Pain means you're being promoted to a level your current self cannot handle without transformation. Study the lives of every single person who accomplished anything of lasting value. They all faced crushing opposition. They all endured seasons of devastating loss. They all walked through valleys so dark they questioned whether dawn would ever break again. And yet these valleys weren't their destruction. They were their development zones. The darkness wasn't their defeat. It was their delivery room where greatness was finally born. Your breaking is not rejection. It's strategic redirection toward your true purpose. Your suffering is not punishment. It's your promotion being meticulously prepared in heaven's boardroom. The universe is not against you. It's reconstructing you for a mission that requires a stronger vessel. When everything falls apart, that's when God steps in to build something far greater than you could have engineered with your limited vision and fragile plans. Or, the greatest biblical heroes were shaped by suffering. Joseph wasn't just casually thrown into a pit. He was brutally betrayed by his own blood, sold like property, falsely accused and forgotten in prison before he ruled a nation. Every single moment of his suffering was precisely calculated to develop the character needed to steward the destiny awaiting him. Had he been promoted without that preparation, pride would have destroyed what pain had perfected. His trials weren't random. They were required training for his triumph. Moses didn't just wander, he endured 40 punishing years in wilderness obscurity. his royal identity stripped away before he delivered millions in history's greatest exodus. Why? Because the Moses who was raised in Pharaoh's palace was too full of himself, too dependent on human strength, too shaped by Egyptian thinking to fulfill his divine assignment. His desert years weren't a detour. They were a deliberate classroom where God methodically stripped away everything that would have sabotaged his future success. David didn't merely hide. He ran for his life, wrote psalms of anguish while living in caves, and faced crushing rejection before wearing the crown. The shepherd boy anointed to be king had to experience betrayal, conspiracy, abandonment, and desperation before he could lead with wisdom and compassion. His years on the run weren't wasted time. They were essential preparation, developing the heart that would make him a king after God's own heart. Even Christ himself was not exempt. He was beaten beyond recognition, mocked, abandoned, and crucified in excruciating agony. Before resurrection, glory changed the world forever. The Savior of humanity had to experience the fullness of human suffering to become the perfect sacrifice and the perfect high priest who understands our weaknesses. His suffering wasn't a tragedy. It was the centerpiece of the divine plan that redeemed humanity. That's your current pain is creating your future power. Woes, do you see the pattern? Do you grasp the profound truth? Greatness is always preceded by grinding. Before every coronation comes a crucifixion. Before every throne room experience comes a wilderness journey. Before you're qualified to carry the crown, you must first endure the cross. This isn't just religious rhetoric, it's a universal principle written into the very fabric of existence. When a butterfly emerges from its chrysalis, it must struggle against the confines of its cocoon. That very struggle forces fluid into its wings, giving them the strength to fly. If you help a butterfly by cutting open its cocoon, you doom it to death. It will never develop the strength needed to survive your struggle. Right now is developing the strength you'll need to soar tomorrow. If God removed your trial prematurely, you would miss the very transformation it's designed to produce. What breaks you doesn't just make you, it revolutionizes you. The deeper your roots are forced to grow in absolute darkness, the taller and more unshakable you'll stand when you finally emerge into the light. The more violent the storm you endure, the more unstoppable you become when your heart feels completely crushed beyond repair. Remember this eternal truth. Diamonds are just ordinary coal that embraced the pressure instead of fighting against it. Your current agony is the precise pressure needed to transform your character from common carbon into something brilliant and unbreakable. Ask yourself, do you want to remain coal, cheap, common, and consumable? Or do you want to become a diamond, rare, valuable, and virtually indestructible? The difference isn't in the material. Coal and diamonds are both carbon. The difference is in the pressure and the time. What you're going through right now is the very pressure needed to transform you from ordinary to extraordinary. Don't fight it. Embrace it as the necessary catalyst for your evolution into greatness. Your tears are not wasted. Each one is precious currency in the spiritual realm. Your desperate prayers are not ignored. They are being carefully collected for maximum impact. Your seemingly meaningless pain is not random chaos. It is the deliberate brushstroke of a master artist creating a masterpiece. God doesn't just notice your suffering. He meticulously collects every tear in a bottle, records every silent midnight cry, and personally authors every triumphant comeback story that will leave the world in awe of his power working through your life. Your pain has divine purpose. Your suffering has supernatural significance. In the economy of heaven, nothing is wasted. Not a single tear falls without purpose. Not a single night of weeping passes without progress being made in the spiritual realm. Your pain isn't just producing perseverance, it's producing a powerful testimony that will one day bring hope to countless others walking through similar valleys. Your current chapter of suffering is setting up a future chapter of significant impact that would be impossible without this present pain. Think about it. How could you possibly comfort someone whose heart is shattered if yours has never been broken? How could you guide someone through the wilderness if you've never been lost? How could you speak with authority about God's faithfulness in the fire if you've never felt the flames? Your wounds are your credentials. Your scars are your qualifications. What has hurt you most deeply will become what helps others most powerfully. The world celebrates superficial strength, but God, the creator of the universe, celebrates total surrender. The world prizes the proud, the arrogant, the self-sufficient. God deliberately elevates the humble, the broken, the dependent. The world desperately hides scars beneath makeup and masks. God intentionally showcases them as irrefutable evidence of his transforming power. The contrast is absolute. Human wisdom says, protect yourself. Divine wisdom says, surrender yourself completely. Human logic says, avoid pain. Divine strategy says, embrace the pain that transforms. Das, your greatest weakness will become your greatest witness. What has wounded you most deeply? What failure haunts you? What rejection still stings? What loss still brings tears to your eyes? That very thing will become the centerpiece of your ministry to others. The area of your deepest pain will become the arena of your greatest power. God doesn't waste wounds. He weaponizes them against the darkness, turning your greatest defeats into your greatest demonstrations of his delivering power. Where human wisdom says, hide your weaknesses, divine wisdom says, surrender your weaknesses, and watch as supernatural strength fills those broken places. Where human instinct says, run from your failures, divine guidance says, learn from your failures, and watch as they become the foundation for your future success. Your greatest setbacks are setting up your greatest comebacks. Your most painful losses are preparing you for your most powerful legacy. Daughters, your scars don't just tell a story of survival, they broadcast your victory. Every scar on your body, every wound in your heart, every battle in your mind that left you marked, they loudly whisper to others this powerful truth: if God brought me through hell and back, he'll bring you through too. Your broken places, those shameful cracks you try to hide, become the exact spots where God's supernatural light shines with blinding brilliance. What you misinterpret as everything falling apart, God recognizes as you finally being planted in fertile soil. The very circumstances making you question your worth are the precise conditions creating your unimaginable value. Do you understand what this means? The very things you're most ashamed of, the failures you pray, no one discovers the weaknesses you desperately try to compensate for. These are the exact places God wants to display his glory. The Apostle Paul understood this when he wrote, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. He stopped hiding his inadequacies and started showcasing them as the canvas for God's sufficiency. Your weaknesses are not obstacles to your purpose, they are opportunities for God's power. The desperate prayers born in absolute darkness carry a unique, supernatural power that comfortable sunshine prayers will never know. Faith casually developed in easy times is flimsy and untested. But faith violently forged in the inferno of affliction doesn't just bend slightly under pressure. It stands immovable when everything and everyone else crumbles to dust around you. When you've been completely emptied of your self-sufficiency, your arrogance, your illusion of control. That is the precise moment when God can finally fill every chamber of your being with his unstoppable purpose. Your emptiness becomes the prerequisite for your fullness. Your weakness becomes the foundation for supernatural strength. Comfort is the enemy of greatness. Convenience is the killer of calling. Make no mistake about this truth. You were never created for mere comfort, for mediocre existence, for blending into the forgettable masses. You were specifically engineered for earth-shaking greatness that will echo through generations, and such extraordinary greatness is never, ever birthed in the cradle of ease and convenience. It is methodically forged molecule by molecule in the scorching furnace of affliction, where ordinary metals become indestructible steel. Your comfort zone isn't just limiting you, it's killing the champion you were destined to become. Look at your own life. How many times have you chosen comfort over growth? How many times have you settled for good enough instead of pressing through to greatness? How many times have you allowed fear of pain to keep you from pursuing your highest purpose? Those decisions have cost you your destiny. But today can be different. Today, you can choose to embrace the very struggles you've been avoiding, recognizing them as the training grounds for your transformation. The easy path leads to a mediocre life. The comfortable road leads to regret-filled deathbeds where people whisper with their final breaths. I wish I had tried. Don't let that be your story. Choose the difficult path. Choose the uphill climb. Choose the resistance that builds resilience. Choose the suffering that shapes significance. When you look back on your life, you won't regret the hardships you endured. You'll regret the challenges you avoided out of fear. Stop asking, why me, and start asking, what for? Your excruciating pain isn't random chaos or cruel fate. It's precisely calculated divine preparation for extraordinary purpose. Nothing is wasted, nothing is accidental, everything is intentional. The deeper and more agonizing the wound that's been carved into your soul, the more profound and far-reaching the healing you'll eventually bring to countless others who are suffering. The longer and darker the night of absolute despair you're enduring right now, the more explosively powerful your testimony will be when morning finally breaks through your darkness. Your current agony isn't meaningless. It's an investment in your future impact that will yield returns beyond your comprehension. Think of it this way. Would you listen to financial advice from someone who's never invested? Would you follow fitness guidance from someone who's never set foot in a gym? Would you trust marriage counsel from someone who's never fought for their relationship? Of course not. So why do you question the value of your painful experiences? They are giving you credibility and authority to speak into others' lives with transformative power. Your suffering isn't depleting your purpose, it's defining your purpose with laser precision. Every person who has ever changed the world has first been changed. By the world, every healer has first been wounded. Every deliverer has first been in bondage. Every builder has first experienced breakdown. Your painful past is the foundation for your powerful future. Stop asking, why is this happening to me? And start asking, what is this preparing me for? The moment you shift from victim mindset to victor mindset, your entire perspective transforms, and what once looked like pointless suffering suddenly reveals itself as purposed strategy. God, the master designer of the universe, doesn't carelessly waste wounds or permit pointless suffering without magnificent purpose. He's not sadistic, he's strategic, he's not cruel, he's calculating your promotion, what nearly obliterated you, what almost pushed you to give up completely, what drove you to your knees in unbearable pain, will become the exact instrument he masterfully uses to build your destiny and impact generations. Your breaking isn't the tragic conclusion of your life story. It's the dramatic introduction to your world-changing impact that couldn't begin until your pride was shattered and your heart was prepared. Audius. Your qualification for greatness is your brokenness. When God thunderously calls your name from heaven, He doesn't demand a resume of your perfection or a list of your achievements. He specifically asks about your brokenness, your failures, your wounds, your moments of absolute desperation. He doesn't eagerly seek those who've never stumbled or struggled. He deliberately seeks out those who've fallen hard, wept bitterly in the darkness, and still chose to rise again with His name faithfully on their trembling lips. Your qualification isn't your strength, it's your surrender. It's not your flawlessness that attracts divine power, it's your acknowledged fractures. Look at the heroes of faith throughout history. Moses was a murderer and a fugitive before he became a deliverer. David was an adulterer and conspirator to murder before he wrote psalms that would comfort generations. Peter denied Christ 3 times before becoming the rock upon which the church was built. Paul persecuted Christians before becoming Christianity's greatest missionary. Their greatest failures preceded their greatest impact. Your mistakes, your sins, your rock-bottom moments aren't disqualifications. They're prerequisites for the kind of humble, dependent heart God can use for His highest purposes. The world celebrates and elevates those who project perfection, who never admit weakness, who hide their struggles behind masks of success. But God, the one whose opinion actually matters, specifically chooses the broken, the humble, the authentic souls who have been stripped of pretense and pride. Why? Because brokenness creates openings for divine power to flow through. A vessel must first be emptied before it can be filled with something new. Your breaking is simply the necessary emptying that precedes your supernatural filling. God's supernatural power isn't made perfect in your strength, it's made absolutely perfect in your complete weakness. This is the paradox that the world cannot comprehend, but that spiritual champions throughout history have discovered. True strength is found in acknowledged weakness. When you come to the end of yourself, your abilities, your resources, your understanding, your control. That's where divine power begins to manifest with supernatural force. As long as you're trying to be strong in yourself, you're actually limiting what God can do through you. But when you collapse in complete surrender, admitting, I can't, but you can, that's when miracles begin to multiply. The Apostle Paul, arguably the most impactful Christian who ever lived after Jesus himself, didn't boast about his strengths. He didn't showcase his impressive resume. He didn't emphasize his religious pedigree. Instead, he made this shocking statement, I will boast all the more gladly about my weaknesses, so that Christ's power may rest on me. He had discovered the counterintuitive secret of the kingdom. Power flows not to the proud, but through the broken. Not to the self-sufficient, but through the dependent. Not to the perfect, but through the flawed who rely completely on divine grace. Stop hiding your brokenness behind masks of fake perfection. Start using it as your platform for authentic impact. Stop desperately covering your scars with layers of pretense. Start boldly showing them as evidence of battles survived. Stop exhaustingly running from your pain as if it's your enemy. Start strategically redeeming it as your most powerful ally. Your healing isn't just for your comfort. It's for your commission to a world of wounded people who need to see what restoration looks like in human form. The world needs your authentic story, not your polished performance. The broken, bleeding world around you doesn't need more pristine, polished, perfect people pretending they have it all together while dying inside. The world is desperately hungry for authentic warriors who've been deeply wounded, thoroughly healed, and have courageously returned to the battlefield. Not to show off their strength, but to compassionately guide others through the same storms they've already navigated. Your mess becomes your message. Your test becomes your testimony. Your pain becomes your platform for unprecedented impact. Think about the people who have most profoundly impacted your own life. Were they the ones who seemed perfect, who never showed vulnerability, who kept their struggles hidden? Or were they the authentic souls who weren't afraid to say, "I've been where you are, I know how it feels, and I found a way through"? Authenticity creates connection in a way perfection never can. Your willingness to be real about your brokenness creates bridges over which divine love can travel to reach others still trapped in their pain. You are not defined by what brutally broke you in the past. You are permanently defined by who completely restored you and continues to use even your deepest wounds for glory. And that divine restoration process isn't selfishly just for your benefit. It's strategically designed for everyone. God will powerfully reach through your unique story of brokenness and redemption. Your scars aren't meant to be hidden. They're meant to be showcased as evidence that healing is possible for others who are still bleeding where you once bled. Your greatest ministry will be born from your deepest, most agonizing taint. This is the divine pattern that repeats throughout history. The very thing that caused your greatest pain will become the source of your greatest purpose. The parent who lost a child becomes an agent of healing for other grieving parents. The recovered addict becomes a lifeline for those still in bondage. The survivor of abuse becomes an advocate for the abused. The entrepreneur who failed repeatedly becomes a mentor to struggling startups. Your worst chapters become your most powerful credentials. Every single tear you've cried in silent anguish isn't just emotion, it's sacred water nourishing the seeds of your divine purpose. Every endless night you've spent weeping into your pillow, questioning your worth, doubting your future, that darkness is deliberately preparing you for the morning you'll spend rejoicing in victory that outshines your suffering. Every excruciating moment you've spent completely broken, shattered beyond human repair is methodically building the supernatural strength you'll desperately need to stand unshakable in your world-changing calling. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is wasted in God's economy of purpose. What if Joseph had never been betrayed by his brothers? He would never have been positioned to save nations from famine. What if Moses had never fled Egypt as a murderer? He would never have encountered God in the burning bush. What if David had never been hunted by Saul? He would never have written the Psalms that have comforted billions. Your painful detours are actually divine shortcuts to a purpose far beyond what your limited mind can currently imagine. What seems like unnecessary suffering now will one day be revealed as essential preparation for a calling that required every ounce of that pain to fulfill. Your greatest ministry will be born from your deepest, most agonizing pain. Every single tear you've cried in silent anguish isn't just emotion, it's sacred water nourishing the seeds of your divine purpose. Every endless night you've spent weeping into your pillow, questioning your worth, doubting your future, that darkness is deliberately preparing you for the morning you'll spend rejoicing in victory that outshines your suffering. Every excruciating moment you've spent completely broken, shattered beyond human repair is methodically building the supernatural strength you'll desperately need to stand unshakable in your world-changing calling. Nothing, absolutely nothing, is wasted in God's economy of purpose. True power isn't found in never falling or never failing. That's just pride, masquerading as perfection. Authentic power is found in completely surrendering your fall, your failure, your brokenness to the one who can supernaturally transform it into spectacular flight. It's not your human strength that will ultimately change the world around you. It's your total, unconditional surrender to divine purpose. It's not your flawless performance or perfect record that will profoundly inspire others to change. It's your honest journey of healing that makes the impossible possible for them too. Your scars speak louder than your successes ever could. When God finally and dramatically lifts you from the smoldering ashes of what you thought was your end, you won't walk in your limited human power. You'll walk in His unlimited supernatural authority. You won't speak your weak temporary words. You'll speak His eternal fire that melts hardened hearts and transforms resistant minds. You won't live for the hollow, fleeting applause of crowds who forget you tomorrow. You'll live with unshakable purpose for the glory of eternity that outlasts time itself. Your life becomes a vessel for something transcendent. Durs. This isn't just a setback. This is your divine moment of complete transformation. Stop fighting against the breaking process. Let it do its perfect, necessary work in every dimension of your being. Let your pain serve its strategic purpose instead of wasting energy questioning why it happened. Every intimidating giant you're facing today isn't randomly placed in your path. It's specifically preparing you for a greater, more significant calling than you can currently imagine. Every painful tear you shed in secret isn't just salt water. It's precious liquid fertilizing the soil where your future unprecedented harvest will explode into abundance beyond your wildest dreams. Your brokenness isn't your shameful secret to hide. It's your extraordinary superpower waiting to be activated. When you fully embrace it instead of denying it, when you completely surrender it to divine purpose instead of burying it, when you allow God to thoroughly redeem it instead of being defined by it, that's when you become absolutely unstoppable in your impact on others. Your greatest liability becomes your greatest asset. Your deepest wound becomes your strongest weapon against darkness. The man or woman God uses most powerfully in history isn't the one who's never experienced brokenness or failure. It's the one who's been thoroughly broken and meticulously rebuilt by divine hands for specific purpose. Perfect people can't reach imperfect people. Only those who've been in the valley can effectively guide others through it. Your qualification isn't your strength, it's your story of transformation. Your breaking isn't the tragic end of your story, it's the explosive epicenter of your God-given purpose. Rise dramatically from the ashes that tried to consume you. Stand boldly in the scars that tried to define you. Speak authoritatively from the healing that replaced your hurting. The wounded, desperate world around you is eagerly waiting for your authentic comeback story that proves transformation is possible for them too. Your life becomes living proof that brokenness isn't the conclusion. It's the introduction to something magnificent. Like this video right now, subscribe to our channel immediately, join our growing community of unconquerable warriors who deliberately turned their worst pain into their greatest power. Remember this transformational truth with every fiber of your being. It's never about how many devastating times you fall to the ground. It's always about who powerfully picks you up when you can't rise on your own, and when God Himself lifts you from the ashes. You don't just merely rise to your former level, you soar to heights your former self could never have reached. Just seat. Brokenness isn't your final destiny, it's your divine delivery system to unprecedented greatness.